Hi, friends. Welcome back to another episode of Refinishing Furniture. If you're new here, thank you so much for clicking on this video. My name is Monica, and I am the founder and creator of Girasol Vintage, a small business that brings all forgotten furniture back to life. In today's episode, I will be refinishing this beautiful Thomasville Hutch that I got at my local Habitat for Humanity. This was priced originally at $95, but I went on a day where everything was 50% off, and I also got a military discount, which brought my total down to $40. So here I'm just cleaning the bottom part of the hutch with heavy-duty degreasing wipes. You can find this product in my Amazon storefront, which will be linked in the description box, along with other products used for this flip. After cleaning this piece, I went ahead and removed all the hardware. I am planning to reuse it to keep my flipping costs down. And if you're just now starting to refinish furniture, whether it's for your own home or to earn extra cash, reusing the hardware is one of the easiest ways to keep your flipping budget down. And if you end up not using it, don't discard it because you can reuse it for a future project. I mounted the hutch onto my moving dolly so I can move it around and work on both the top and the bottom at the same time. To remove the finish on this hutch, I will be using QCS, but since the finish is very thick and super hot in my area, I will be wrapping it to make sure the product doesn't dry as fast and it has enough time to be absorbed. While I let the QCS work, I'm going to start pulling the doors off the top part of the hutch. This has glass, and I want to make sure that I am able to paint the front and back so that when it's open, you can see the inside frame painted as well. You gotta remember, refinishing furniture and how well you sell is all in the details. As I removed the plastic off, I noticed that the product was a little dry, so I sprayed a little more QCS just so that the finish doesn't get too goopy and sticky on me. But as you can see, the product worked really well, and some of the finish came off when I peeled back the plastic. Now, taking my putty knife, I am removing the product, and as you can see, it comes off smoothly. Next, I started scuff sanding the rest of the piece using my orbital sander and 120 grit sandpaper. Now this part is optional if you're doing a hutch, but I like to remove the back so I can paint it better, and typically it's not too complicated to take off. I recently got this Wagner spraying tent, and it's super helpful if you have several projects that you're working on at the same time. I like it because I can have it in the driveway and work on it there while I have another project in the garage. This one's pretty big, but I think they do have a small one too that would work in smaller spaces. Once I had my tent set up, I brought the shelf part of the hutch inside to get it primed and ready for paint. Anytime I paint over a vintage piece and I am using a light color, I use oil-based primer to prevent bleed through because there's nothing worse than to top coat and to think that you're done, and all of a sudden you see a yellow or brown stain coming through. I know it's not the end of the world, but it adds more drying time to your project. I ended up doing 2 coats on the entire piece, and I sanded in between with a fine grit sanding sponge. Once the top dried, I busted out my orbital sander with 120 grit sandpaper and started sanding down some of the uneven tone that was still present after stripping the top, and I repeated the process with 220 grit sandpaper. Now, I'm not gonna lie, when I started applying this stain, I freaked out because it was not staining the wood evenly. And I think it had to do with the fact that this top was put together with a few different types of wood species. But it's not a big deal. I'm gonna show you how you can fix this problem. Just keep watching. Here's the piece already primed and the top covered because it's time to start painting it. Now, because this hutch is going to be going to the vintage shop, I am painting it in a color that I know for sure will be a quick seller. This is very similar to Dog Egg by several paint companies. For those of you who are interested in redoing this flip or just copying the color, trust me when I tell you, this will sell fast. The shop opened at 9 a.m. and there was a line of people waiting to go inside, not just to see my pieces, but to see all the other pieces in there. And trust me, like literally people went in and within 3 minutes, somebody had already grabbed the tag and brought it up to the counter to pay for it. So I had my first weekend market sale at the shop and I got to meet some of the other vendors at the shop. They were all very nice people. I got to see their individual style and I also got pretty good feedback from them, which is awesome. While I was talking to one of the vendors, she told me that there's a vintage market in Virginia called Lockett's. I'm planning to go there and I will definitely be bringing my vlogging camera with me so I can show you guys all the goodies they have there. Next, I'm going to start working on the hardware, which I think it's really beautiful and all it really needs is a good cleaning and polishing. I put all of them in a container, I poured a good amount of Barkeeper's Friend and let it sit for about an hour before I start scrubbing it. I personally don't like to use steel wool to clean my hardware because it's too coarse and you end up having to do more work trying to polish the scratches. I promise you, if you let it sit for a while, you won't have to use steel wool to clean them. Here, I'm just using an old toothbrush and I mean, look how awesome they turn out. I went ahead and top coated the entire piece using water-based poly and satin. I did 2 full coats on the entire piece except the top because if you remember, I was going to tell you how to fix the unevenness and here it is. I used Dark Wax by Behr, but you don't have to use this brand. You can certainly use any other brand, just be careful not to confuse it with black wax. This one is brown. Let the wax sit for about 30 minutes and buff it with a lint-free cloth. Finally, I started putting the hutch back together and thank God because at this point, I was so over refinishing this hutch and I wanted to be done badly. I used my pneumatic stapler to reattach the back panel to the shelf. I removed all the tape and started reattaching the hardware, making sure to match it up with each door. If you made it to the end, thank you so much for watching this video. Comment down below how much you think this sold for. If you have any questions regarding this video or questions about how to get started refinishing furniture, you can ask in the comments section or you can contact me through Instagram and Facebook. Again, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you guys next time for another furniture flip. Bye-bye.